All right, tonight we're having a good simple dinner. We're going to have le viande hachée avec champignons et les haricots verts. In other words, we're going to have ground beef with mushrooms and green beans. Our goal here, again, is to make food that's simple and good stuff that can be made without a lot of complication, without a lot of supplies and equipment in a normal American kitchen. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm first going to prep the green beans, les haricots verts. I've set the oven to 400 degrees, letting that heat, and I'm going to get the beans ready now to cook them. I'm going to put them on just kind of an aluminum baking pan. First, what I need to do is I need to get the ends off them. Now, there's 3 different ways to do this, and I'm going to show you what I think is the easiest, but one thing you can do is just pop them. You just kind of pop them off like that. That's one way to do it. Pinch them. Pinching beans, people used to say. Put some of those over on the tray. You can chop them. Sometimes what you can do is lay them out like this and chop several of them at once. But personally, I think the easiest thing to do, and the fastest at least, is to have a pair of kitchen scissors. Easily enough. Just got these at the grocery store. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to snip the ends, the stem ends, off all these beans. Goes pretty quickly, as you can see. And as I get some of them done, I'm going to make sure I leave behind the stem pieces. I'm going to put those out on my aluminum pan. Keep going on that for a while till I've done all of them. With that done, and I've got them here on a tray, I'm going to spread them out real well. And we could roast them in the oven just like this, but I'm going to do I'm going to put a couple other things with them just to make them a little more interesting. First things I'm going to do is I'm going to put some onion in with it. Show you how I'm going to do this. Take this onion. Do good knife safety, put your fingertips down. Don't stick your fingertips out into the path of the knife. Some people have trouble with onions. You know, they're hurting their eyes when they're cooking. One of the best ways to solve that is to cut them quickly. Again, fingertips down. I'm going to cut kind of little pie wedges here. Gives it a good size to roast. And I'm going to put those in there. I'm going to break out the layers a little bit, so they separate. I'm going to spread those out into the tray. Onions cook down a lot, and so you're not going to have quite as much as it looks like here in the end. But there we've got some onions. I'm going to do one other thing just for some tastiness with that. I'm going to do some garlic. Now garlic, some people think garlic is hard to peel. I'm going to show you that it's not. I'm going to set out some of these cloves of garlic, and this paper thin skin can kind of stick to your fingers and get in your way. What you do, just pop it. Just pop it with the flat of the knife, and you'll see it falls right out of there. I'm going to toss that over here. I'm going to do some of these and toss those over in my pan with the beans and onions. I don't need to really mash them. I don't really want to mash them flat. Basically, I just pop them open. Come out of there, brush the skins aside. That one didn't pop quite as nicely. So you can see I'm having a little trouble getting that out of there because it didn't pop quite as nicely. But again, you just try to peel those things. It'll take you forever, and they stick to everything. And right here, pretty easy. Gets them out of there pretty quickly. There we go. There it is. And again, spread it out, distribute it nicely. Have as much space around things as I can. And now, that took me 5 minutes, and we are just about ready to go for that. What we're going to do next, olive oil. Going to run pretty good amount of olive oil over it. Mix that in a little bit. We don't need too much. With that, these things are going to fry up nice. Honestly, they're better than French fries. Salt. For something like this where you're kind of eating it straight, a better quality salt, kind of nice. Like sea salt here, you can use anything. Salt. You can use any salt. Salted those up. Get some pepper on it. These are good to go. They're going in the oven for about half an hour. Now, while those beans are in the oven, I'm going to do some mushrooms. A lot of people don't like champignon, what we're going to call it. It's in French, champignon. A lot of people don't like mushrooms. They're wrong. Like a lot of other things in life, it's kind of a matter of having them prepared properly. Like our onions, mushrooms cook down a lot, and so you need a little more than you think you do. Some of these are a little bit older, you can see. Doesn't matter for this. We're not eating them fresh, we're cooking them. And what I'm going to do is just slice them. I slice them across like this. Some of the bigger ones like that, I may give them a reverse slice. Don't need to. I'm going to cut those up again a little bit smaller. Have them be a little smaller pieces. There we go. Mushrooms chopped up. Again, they don't need to be consistent in size. And what we're going to do with these suckers is I'm going to fry them. I'm going to wait a little while on that. I don't want to get too far ahead of my beans that are in the oven. But I'm going to do some cleanup. When I get back to it, we're going to fry up these mushrooms. Okay, so it's about 25 minutes later. I've already cleaned everything up. I've stepped outside and grilled some hamburgers, some hamburger patties, viande hachée that I'm going to eat with this dinner. Now it's time to cook those mushrooms that I was chopping up earlier. Now I'm going to turn the heat on here, kind of medium-high on this. Again, you know, you watch cooking videos and things like that, they convince you got to have a gas stove and everything else, and it'd be nice to have some fancy restaurant equipment and style equipment in the house. But I don't. You probably don't. And so the thing is, a lot of this can be done on any old-fashioned, in this case, 1970s stove. Mushrooms don't taste like much. Mushrooms taste like whatever you cook them with. And in this case, they're going to taste like olive oil and butter. In other words, they're going to taste good. Put that in there. Using here a steel pan. It's been seasoned. by which I mean I've just I've cooked with it enough that it's gotten a nice, almost kind of non-stick, kind of carbon steel coating on it. It's what you want with a pan. You want it to reach that point. So it's not dirty. It's been seasoned. Like I say, it's got kind of a carbon layer on top of it. There's my mushrooms. They're going to cook down a lot, so it's going to end up being less than that looks like in the end. We'll probably add a little butter and olive oil to it again here in a minute here. You can't really put too much butter and olive oil on it. You can. The way to know that if you put too much butter and olive oil on it is if it's actually floating. That's the only way it could possibly be too much. Just a little salt and pepper there. We're going to cook these. You will see, again, as they go, that it's going to cook down a lot. There's going to be a third to a fourth of that volume by the time these things finish cooking. Oh yeah, cooking down nicely. A little more on the salt. Almost finished with the mushrooms. In fact, we're going to call that good. Get these things off the heat. Well, here's dinner. It is simple and it's good. Now, if you look at here at these green beans, if you remember before, there were onions piled high over this. See how much they've cooked down? You see very few onions on it here. One of the best parts of this meal, though, is going to be these guys right here. These little well-cooked garlic cloves. These things are super tasty, and that is going to be one of the best parts of this meal. You can see that it's they're not burned, kind of the ends of them. You get them right to where the ends of them are starting to blacken just a little bit, and they won't taste burned like that, but everything, like I say, it's going to have a nice crispy texture. The onions are going to have a nice sweet flavor to them. Those garlic cloves are excellent. Over here I just have some hamburger patties, and just going to serve this up. Let's get one of those things. Load it up with some mushrooms. Give us some of our green beans, our garlic pieces, onions. And there you go. There's a good dinner. Simple. A lot of things that people think, they think French cooking is fancy. French cooking isn't necessarily fancy. It's just cooking. And I don't even know really what qualifies this as French necessarily. They do love their garlic. They do love their mushrooms. And here you go with a good proper dinner. We can add a salad to that. We are good to go. The whole thing took me about 45 minutes, and that I cleaned up as I went. And so, bon appetit, and try it at home.